So welcome to this short demo showing how, as a developer, you can continuously deliver your application to a newly provisioned environment, stubbing components that you're not working on, and functionally testing the deployment to ensure that it's working successfully. Now, for most organizations, they're prevented from doing this by not being able to stand up new infrastructure quickly, by having manual deployment and test approach, and by having complex interdependencies between applications that make just deploying a subset of that application really hard. So this short demo will show you how IBM DevOps can help you overcome these challenges. So in this story, you're going to be a developer on the vacation booking project. And this application comprises 3 machines which require installing WebSphere Application Server, MQ, DB2 and Tomcat, and then deploying the vacation booking application on top. And if you're interested in seeing the full application being deployed, then please check out our other videos showing how that works. However, in this particular scenario, you're just developing the web tier, so all you want to do is deploy just that server and then use a virtual or mocked service for the rest of the application. Now, you've already created some virtual services, but we need to deploy and switch them on when we create the new environment. Now, this approach saves us having to deploy all 3 machines, and it also reduces the time it takes to deploy our application, hence the time until we get some feedback on the changes that we just made. Now also, because we're provisioning our environment on demand, we won't get delayed waiting for environments to be available, and we also maximize the use of our hardware resources. So for the testing part of our continuous delivery pipeline, you're going to run some functional tests that have already been recorded in order to test that the UI is behaving as expected. We could also run some integration tests against the MQ layer to make sure that the backend services and database are correctly working, but because we're running a stub, that's not actually necessary. So in the demo, you're going to push a code change to Git, and then Jenkins is going to build the WAR file and request a deployment and the provisioning of a new environment. About 10 minutes later, the web tier will be deployed and configured with a virtual service, and all the functional tests will have been run. So then you'll go through and view the application and just confirm that the test results and the application is working. And then finally, I'll briefly show you how all the different components fit together in order to make this scenario actually work. So let's get going. In this scenario, you're using Bluemix code, Git and Jenkins to make the changes to your application, but any editor, SCM or build tool will work. So the first thing we're going to do is go and make a small change to the front page of our web application. And I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to commit the change to Git. And then finally, I'm going to push that change to Git as well. In about 10 minutes, I'll receive a Slack notification telling me where my new environment is and the URL of my deployed application. We'll rejoin the action in a few minutes' time. So it's been about 10 minutes since I submitted my code change, and you can see that I've got a notification in Slack telling me that my environment has been created successfully. So this means that I've provisioned a single server, I've installed Tomcat and MQ, deployed my web application, I've configured a virtual service for the rest of the application, and then finally I've run a set of functional tests to verify that the user interface is working as expected. So even though all of the tests have worked, because we've got a positive notification come through, you still decide that you're going to click through and check that everything's working as it should. So let's open up the vBooking application. So this has all been deployed, it's all running on new infrastructure. You can see up here that the change we made to the code has come through onto our website, so that's great. So now let's just click through and make sure that everything's working as it should be. Let's book a flight. Choose my customer and proceed. So great, we now get onto the flight booked page, and normally this would only come up if we had the the entire system there running in the background. But because the stub's running, we've successfully returned a flight reservation number and sort of basically fooled the web application into thinking that everything's good. So now let's have a look at what happened under the covers to kind of make this happen. So first, you can see that we have got Jenkins running, and whenever we submit a change or push a change into Git, we've configured Jenkins so that it picks up on that change and it automatically runs the build. We've then extended the usual build to issue a REST call to IBM Cloud Orchestrator, which provisions a new machine, checks whether we've exceeded our cloud quota, and then also invokes an automated process. And in this case, that process deploys a heat template to provision our middleware and our application, and then also sends a message to Slack once it's completed. So the heat template looks like this. It's a description of the machine that we need to be provisioned with the various components that need to be installed on top of it. The components come from Urban Code Deploy, whilst the various images come from the cloud that we're deploying to. So behind each one of these components is a more detailed workflow for how that component needs to be deployed. And here you can see an example of a graphical workflow describing how to go and install MQ. Finally, once that's all run, then inside Urban Code Deploy, we can actually see the fact that the tests have been successfully executed, and also that the stub has started successfully. So we can see the actual results of our deployment inside here. So that concludes the demo. Finally, I'd just like to finish with saying that I hope you found the demo useful and interesting, and that it showed you how with IBM DevOps you can save time by automating deployment and stubbing parts of the system you don't need, how you can improve the quality and the feedback by using those automated techniques, and also finally how you can maximize the utilization of your hardware. So thanks for watching, and hopefully see you soon.